too can have this tone. Sorry, bad joke. So I thought I'd show you how to get a U2 tone through an amp that maybe isn't a Vox and isn't exactly the same gear as the Edge's setup from U2. So I'm using a Strymon Timeline, and I'll kind of show you the setting right here. And a lot of people think that you can't get this tone unless you have a really bright sounding delay unit. I think the digital delay sound on the Strymon is great. It has a lot of mojo to it, but a lot of people criticize it as not being bright enough or having enough kick. But honestly, a lot of the trick to this is the pick, believe it or not. So I'm going to turn off the delay unit for a minute here. Give me a second. And I'm just going to show you the sound of this with a normal pick for a minute. Okay, so this is a normal one here. Now the Edge uses the kind of grip area of the pick. So I'm just going to kind of show you if I were to hold it normal and do that, what you'd have here, okay, as your core sound. Okay, now let me compare that to, this is a Herco pick. I think he used a Herdim pick, but this is the closest thing to it. It's got a lot of fine ridged nubby areas right here. So if you were to hold it normal, where the pick is a little bit of an angle, it's not really going to do the thing. But if you hold it flat, so you could kind of use a grip like that to get completely flush against the string, or you could kind of adjust your fingers a little bit, you're going to start to get more of a kind of a cat tongue effect, where the fact that you have a thin pick with a lot of grip there, it bends and flexes, and it has a long occurrence of connection with the string as it's basically releasing from the string. So that's what creates a lot of the sparkle. Okay, so let's see if we can hear that here. So you can hear the. Okay, so I'm also on the 2 position, okay, on the pickup, so that's the middle and the bridge combined. And this isn't even the right sort of guitar. I mean, it's a Strat scale guitar, but it's got a mahogany body. So I wanted to show you, a lot of it is honestly in the pick, okay? The other thing I'm doing here is, if you think of the Edge's tone, depending on, you know, what era he was in and what he was going for, he was usually using a Korg SDD 3000 delay, or a TC Electronics 2290. So those have a large analog input and output section. So you could drive the front of it really hard and kind of create clipping there before the delay. And you could also have a lot of boost out of it into the amp. So he would run it into the front of his Vox AC30s and drive the amp a lot. I like them in the loop better. And so to simulate the driving of the amp, I'll just kind of show you. I'm going to turn this off. I've got a Chellee Compy Compressor in the front here. Okay, so it's a 6-knob compressor, so I can adjust like how much clarity. I can adjust like the wet dry of the compressor, and it has a tone control. So here's the sound of the KSR Artemis by itself. So if I were so it's a really nice, clear, kind of bell-like tone that has a lot of headroom, but it allows you to push it just a little bit, and it won't get ugly. So I'm pushing into that with the Compy. So I've got the Compy now, okay? And then if I hit that with the pick held exactly the right way, okay, we get the kind of bowed, sort of aggressive, sparkly thing. Okay, now I'm going to add the delay. So what I'm doing on the Strymon is a dual delay. So it's actually kind of hard to get exact details on this, but the Edge has done all sorts of different delay settings and timings and all sorts of different things depending on the song. Okay, but I was kind of messing around with this, and there's a lot of debate as to whether or not it's a dual delay that's a dotted eighth note and a quarter, or a dotted eighth note and an eighth note. To me, it sounds closest with a dotted eighth at pretty much unity gain, or maybe a hair louder to give it a little more kick, with a couple of repeats, and then you've got a quarter note delay with a couple of repeats a little bit quieter than unity. And the Edge would run that to 2 different Vox AC30s, and they would blend that accordingly. And they probably had room reverb and different things going on in post. But if you set that as a dual delay and an effects unit as a parallel delay rather than a series where one feeds the other, that seems to be the closest. And then you kind of dial in a little bit modulation to taste. And what I'm doing is dialing out a little bit of the low end on the pedal. So I'm doing a high pass at 300 in the pedal. So let me let you hear that. Okay, so everything's on now. See, so the trick is a lot of people think it's just a dotted eighth with one repeat, which will be really cool. But part of the trick here that's difficult to get is that what the dual delay with a couple repeats is allowing you to do is it allows you to sit here and arpeggiate a chord without any palm muting and still get a rhythmic kick that you hear without it all running together. And that's kind of the trick to it. So I'll kind of show you. I'm going to half palm mute a little bit of this. So if I... Okay, now I can open up a little bit. See, so that's really like the magic to that whole thing there. So you can use it on, you know. So, there you have it. That's how you get the U2 sound. It's not that complicated. You don't have to have a Vox amp, but what you need is an amp that has a little bit of clean headroom for the volume you're playing, that can stand to be pushed a little bit and not sound ugly. Also, you really, really need some of these Herco Gold 50 picks, and you have to hold them exactly the right way, and you have to play in time to the thing or it won't work, right? Because if I were to go... or doesn't work, right? So if I change the speed a little bit, give me a second, let me change this. So you can sort of dial this in, like if you didn't have something that had a tap, you could dial it in by ear and just go. So I'm playing quarter notes, and I want to hear it go deek dugga digga dugga duck. That's how I know I'm right on top of the beat. So I could be going.